A lot of preparedness culture focuses on gear, storage rooms, generators, expensive equipment, large stockpiles designed for worst-case scenarios. But there's something many experienced people quietly notice. Some low-income communities already practice forms of resilience every single day, not because it's trendy, because necessity taught them how. Now here's why that matters. Preparedness is often imagined as something built through purchasing power, but real resilience frequently comes from adaptability. And adaptability is often strongest in communities that learn how to function with limited resources. Now here's the key insight. People living under long-term financial pressure often develop systems that reduce waste and increase flexibility naturally. Things like resource sharing, repair culture, multi-use thinking, food stretching, community support, low-cost improvisation. Not because they studied preparedness, because survival required it already. Now here's the deeper issue. A lot of modern prepping focuses heavily on accumulation, but accumulation without adaptability creates fragility too, because expensive systems can still fail if people cannot maintain them, cannot repair them, cannot adapt when conditions change. Now consider this. A family used to stretching meals, repairing items, sharing resources, and adapting to shortages may respond to instability more calmly than someone entirely dependent on high-cost convenience systems, because familiarity with hardship changes reaction speed. Now here's another layer. Many low-income communities already understand something preppers sometimes overlook. Stability often comes from cooperation, not isolation. Shared tools, shared information, shared transportation, shared problem-solving. Those systems increase resilience without requiring large amounts of money. Now here's the shift. Instead of asking, what expensive gear creates preparedness? Ask, what habits help people adapt repeatedly under pressure? That question changes preparedness completely, because resilience is not only built through stockpiles, it's also built through behavior. Now here's the takeaway. Some poor communities quietly practice forms of preparedness every day that many people with expensive gear never fully develop. Flexibility, resourcefulness, repair culture, community dependence, waste reduction, practical adaptation, and in many real-world disruptions, those skills may matter far more than appearances or expensive survival equipment alone. Point 1. They waste far less. This is one of the biggest resilience advantages low-income communities often develop naturally, because when resources are limited, waste becomes expensive immediately. Now here's why that matters. Modern convenience culture encourages constant replacement. Throw it away, buy another one, upgrade constantly, replace instead of repair. And over time, people lose awareness of how much usable value they discard every day. But communities under financial pressure often learn something different. Utility matters more than appearance. Now here's where this becomes a major preparedness advantage. Low waste increases efficiency. Now consider common examples. Reusing containers, repairing clothing, stretching meals, saving leftovers, repurposing materials, using items until they truly fail. Simple habits preserving resources longer. Now here's the key detail. Preparedness is often about extending functionality, and low-waste habits extend functionality naturally. Now here's the deeper insight. Most disruptions create pressure through scarcity. Less money, fewer supplies, delayed replacements, higher prices, and people already skilled at maximizing resources adapt faster because they practice efficiency continuously. Now consider this. A person used to repairing and reusing items experiences shortages differently than someone dependent on endless replacement cycles, because adaptation already feels normal. Now here's another advantage. Low-waste systems reduce dependency on fragile supply chains. Less consumption means fewer emergency purchases, and fewer emergency purchases reduce vulnerability during instability. Now here's why experienced people quietly respect resourceful communities. Because resilience often comes from habits, not equipment, and resource efficiency is one of the most valuable habits possible during disruptions. Now here's the pattern. The people who survive instability best are often not the people consuming the most resources. They are the people extracting the most usefulness from limited resources. And low-waste culture supports that perfectly. Now here's why many preppers overlook this. Because buying gear feels productive, but maintaining and maximizing existing resources often creates more sustainable resilience long-term. Now here's the takeaway. Wasting less is not just about saving money. It's about increasing adaptability. And during uncertain conditions, the ability to stretch resources, preserve functionality, and avoid unnecessary consumption may quietly become one of the strongest survival advantages a person can develop. Point 2. They understand community dependence better. A lot of preparedness culture promotes extreme self-reliance. The idea that one person should independently handle every possible problem alone. But many low-income communities operate differently, because they often have to. Now here's why that matters. Complete independence is extremely difficult during long-term instability. No single person can master every skill, own every tool, solve every problem, maintain every system alone. And communities that already understand cooperation often adapt faster under pressure. Now here's where this becomes a major resilience advantage. Shared systems reduce vulnerability. Now consider common examples. Sharing transportation, borrowing tools, watching each other's children, sharing meals, exchanging information, helping during emergencies. Simple cooperative systems increasing collective stability. Now here's the key detail. Preparedness is often about access, and communities expand access dramatically, not because everyone owns everything, because people support each other. Now here's the deeper insight. Modern convenience culture often isolates people, but isolation creates fragility, because isolated individuals absorb every problem alone. Now consider this. One person may lose power. Another may still have electricity. One family may have food. Another may have transportation. One person may understand repairs. Another may understand medical care. Shared capability creates flexible survival networks. Now here's another advantage. Community lowers emotional stress during instability. And emotional stability matters far more than many people realize. People make better decisions when information is shared, pressure is distributed, support exists, isolation decreases. Now here's why experienced people value trusted relationships so highly. Because survival is rarely just about supplies. It's about systems. And communities are systems. Now here's the pattern. The strongest resilience often comes from interconnected people, not isolated individuals overloaded with responsibility. And many low-income communities already practice that naturally. Now here's why some preppers struggle here. Because gear accumulation can create the illusion that equipment replaces relationships. But equipment alone cannot solve every problem. Now here's the takeaway. Community dependence is not weakness. It's distributed resilience. And during long-term instability, strong, trusted networks may quietly become more valuable than massive stockpiles owned by isolated individuals trying to handle everything completely alone. Point 3. They improvise better with limited resources. A lot of preparedness culture focuses on having the correct gear for every scenario. The perfect tool, the specialized solution, the ideal setup. But communities living with limited resources often develop a completely different mindset. Use what's available. Now here's why that matters. Real-world disruptions rarely happen under perfect conditions. Things break, supplies disappear, plans fail, and people who depend entirely on specialized equipment may struggle when that equipment is unavailable. Now here's where improvisation becomes a major resilience advantage. Adaptability replaces perfection. Now consider common examples. Repairing items with household materials, reusing containers creatively, finding substitute cooking methods, creating temporary fixes from ordinary tools, stretching limited supplies across multiple needs. Simple problem solving under pressure. Now here's the key detail. Preparedness is often about maintaining functionality, not maintaining ideal conditions. And improvisation keeps systems functioning even when resources are incomplete. Now here's the deeper insight. Scarcity teaches flexibility. People who regularly solve problems with limited resources develop faster adaptive thinking. And adaptive thinking becomes extremely valuable during instability. Now consider this. A person who knows how to substitute materials and improvise repairs may restore functionality immediately. But a person dependent on exact specialized gear may become stuck waiting for replacement parts or perfect conditions. Improvisation creates momentum. Now here's another advantage. Improvisation reduces panic. Because adaptable people already expect imperfections, they focus on workable solutions instead of ideal solutions. That mindset improves decision-making dramatically during disruptions. Now here's why experienced people value adaptable thinking more than huge gear collections. Because conditions change constantly, and rigid systems break faster than flexible systems. Now here's the pattern. The people who handle instability best are often not the people with perfect setups. They are the people who can keep functioning when setups become imperfect. And many low-income communities practice that adaptability daily. Now here's why some preppers overlook this. Because buying specialized equipment can create psychological dependence on correct solutions. But reality often rewards flexible solutions instead. Now here's the takeaway. Improvisation is not just creativity. It's survival flexibility. And during uncertain conditions, the ability to solve problems using imperfect available resources may become far more valuable than owning expensive systems that only work under ideal circumstances. Point 4. They stay functional under long-term pressure. This is the most important difference, and the one that gets overlooked the most. A lot of preparedness thinking is built around short, dramatic events, power outage for a few days, temporary shortages, short-term emergencies, sudden disruptions. But many low-income communities don't experience preparedness as a short scenario. They experience pressure as a long-term condition. And that changes everything. Now here's why that matters. Short-term thinking focuses on surviving the event, but long-term pressure requires consistency, maintenance, emotional control, resource pacing, daily adaptation, not just gear. Now here's where this becomes a major resilience advantage. People under continuous constraint learn how to function normally even when conditions are not ideal. Now consider what that looks like. Managing with limited income over long periods. Stretching supplies without panic. Handling repeated small setbacks. Adjusting routines constantly. Solving problems without perfect resources. This builds endurance-based resilience, not emergency-based reactions. Now here's the key insight. Many preparedness systems are designed to activate during crisis. But real resilience is about functioning before, during, and after disruption without collapse in behavior. Now here's the deeper difference. A person with expensive gear, but no long-term coping experience may perform well initially, but struggle if disruption continues longer than expected. Meanwhile, someone accustomed to long-term constraints may pace resources naturally, avoid overreaction, maintain routines under stress, continue solving small problems consistently. That consistency matters more than intensity. Now here's another advantage. Long-term pressure teaches prioritization. People learn quickly what actually matters, what can be delayed, what can be substituted, what can be shared or reused. That clarity becomes extremely powerful during instability. Now here's why experienced observers respect this quietly. Because endurance is one of the strongest survival traits there is. Not speed, not equipment, but the ability to keep functioning when conditions stay difficult for longer than expected. Now here's the pattern. Preparedness culture often focuses on preparing for a moment, but many real-world challenges are not moments. They are phases. And communities familiar with long-term pressure already operate within that reality. Now here's the final takeaway. What poor communities often do better than many preppers is not about having more or less resources. It's about maintaining function under sustained difficulty, adapting daily, sharing resources, repairing instead of replacing, stretching limited supplies, staying mentally steady over time. And in long-term instability scenarios, that quiet, continuous resilience often proves more valuable than short bursts of preparedness built only around gear, storage, or emergency scenarios that assume problems will end quickly. Because in reality, survival is rarely just about getting through a moment. It's about continuing to function when the moment lasts longer than expected.